This is Barron versus Baltimore.
With the city doing new developments and with it being so close to the stream, they decided that they wanted to block it and divert the stream to go somewhere else, and that caused the water levels to be lower and the shore just being closer, causing no ships to be able to go through.
So, John Barron had financial struggles after the city had diverted streams during construction. The diversion led to the sand accumulating, which led to the wharf being unusable because of the shallow waters. The city didn't pay Barron for the damages, so he decided to sue the city of Baltimore. Question 1. Why couldn't the ships enter the wharves, and what was the effect on Barron's business?
Barron is the petitioner. He is the one who is doing the suing, and he is claiming that the city has taken his property and is using it for public use, aka the developments, and they are not giving him any compensation for it, which is going against the Fifth Amendment, which again he has claimed.
Baltimore had claimed that the Bill of Rights only applied to federal power and not states, basically saying that the Fifth Amendment didn't apply to their actions.
Question 2. What was the right being violated, and how was it violated? I don't want the amendment, but I want specifically what was inside of the amendment, what was mentioned in that amendment that was being violated.
The Supreme Court ruled in favor of Baltimore, their reasoning being because the Bill of Rights did not apply to the states. The clause for this is the Takings Clause, which Barron used for his claim. Takings Clause is part of the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, basically saying that the government has to compensate for taking private property for public use.
John Marshall is the Chief Justice, so he is the highest ranking officer that is present in the Supreme Court. And John Marshall is also known for the Marbury versus Madison case and the McCulloch versus Maryland case. John Marshall had ruled that the Takings Clause did not apply to Baltimore because Baltimore is a state government and not a federal government. In the end, it was a 7-0 anonymous vote, and if you can see at the bottom of the slides, you will be able to see everyone who was a part of that Supreme Court during that time and who was the one who voted. So of course there's John Marshall, but there's also Joseph Story, William Johnson, Gabriel Duval, Bushrod Washington, Henry Brockholst Livingston, and Thomas Todd. Now the main question is, why does this matter? Well, this matters because this had established that the Bill of Rights really only applied to the federal government, and because of that, that gave more knowledge to the states that they can do what they want, and the Bill of Rights will not apply to them, so they can abuse and violate those rights.
What were the other cases John Marshall was in, and what were they about?
Now, the main question is, why does this matter? Well, this matters because this had established that the Bill of Rights really only applied to the federal government, and because of that, that gave more knowledge to the states that they can do what they want, and the Bill of Rights will not apply to them, so they can abuse and violate those rights. Now, the reason why AP Gov teaches this is because it shapes the debate of the federalism and state powers. Again, going back how some powers are only for the federal and does not apply to the states, so the states can do whatever they want and they can violate those powers. Another reason why is because of the constitutional interpretation. Of course, many during the time had thought that the Bill of Rights will also apply to the states and they cannot go and violate those rights. It goes into federalism, and it also has a role in the Supreme Court evolution. It will also create a pathway for new doctrines to be introduced, like the selective incorporation, and that just means that it applies to specific protections of the Bill of Rights for the states to follow under the 14th Amendment. The impact of this case leads to the strengthening of the state powers, and also it limits the Bill of Rights and how much protection it actually gives the people. Going back to why AP Government really teaches this, it sets up another path for a case, the Gitlow versus New York case, and it's connected because, it's a key fact, this case will be overturned, not formally, but it will be known to be overturned in 1925 because when the 14th Amendment was created in 1868, the Due Process Clause was also created, and during the Gitlow versus New York case, they realized that this also followed with the Barron versus Baltimore case, and that's why many believe that it was overturned. This is an opinion-based question, so there's no right or wrong answer, but if the 14th Amendment was not created, do you believe the states would have continued to violate the Bill of Rights? Do you think more people would have stepped up to try and get the states to be forced to follow the Bill of Rights, or do you think that nothing would have really happened?